Today's CPI day, meaning that the price of Bitcoin is going to be very, very volatile. Let's look at the chart because we're trading at a very important level of resistance, and that is created by all the moving averages that I basically track for Bitcoin. I track a lot of them. This is the 12-hourly time frame, and I'll give you a quick sneak peek if you want to know which moving averages I do track. I've found out that these are the best performing moving averages for multiple time frames. So if you want to use them, then you can add it to your chart as well. Now, this is the 12-hourly. We have the Bollinger Bands too. We can see that Bitcoin made it back to $61,000. That is because of the producer prices data. I'll talk about that in a second. But the most important thing is Bitcoin is facing a lot of resistance from the 55 EMA. Yeah, the 55 EMA and the ones above. If the CPI data, which is the inflation rate, if that comes out positive today, or in terms of a positive data release for decreasing inflation, then Bitcoin will have the chance to make it above this resistance and potentially go above the upper Bollinger Band, which will allow us to go to prior all-time highs. So it's exciting. It's going to be a very volatile day for Bitcoin. I'm not going to trade it, but I am still super happy that I put my entire fiat. I apologize for the crickets in the background. I'm still at my grandma's summer house, so the crickets are going to be there for some more time. But I'm super happy with my purchase at 51K. It was not exactly at the bottom, but we're up $10,000 since, and I'm not going to be broke. That's what I'm happy about. But Bitcoin is up mostly due to the producer prices index. We were sitting at 58K, but thanks to the bullish producer prices reading, we're getting a guaranteed Fed cut. That is what the market really expects today. We're going to get a 50% basis cut in September. That's my prediction. And if the inflation data comes out pretty good, that's going to reaffirm it even more. But because these two follow each other very nicely, I think today will be a very good CPI release, and hopefully Bitcoin will have the chance to break out and go back to $70,000. The important lines to watch are from basically where we are right now at 61.5 all the way to 64K. If we can break above the 200 SMA, 64.2, then we should be able to head back to the $70,000 range. And at that point, we would be at the resistance of the massive descending, broadening channel that I mentioned Bitcoin was building a few videos ago. So that would be the top level of resistance. And if we break above it, beautiful, then we can expect new all-time highs for Bitcoin, potentially in October or even closer. But we need to be careful. I don't want to give you too much of bullish energy. There is always a chance that the CPI data comes out worse than expected. And in that case, Bitcoin will dump based off of prior readings. Of course, nothing in this video is financial advice, but as an analyst, I've tracked that whenever we have a bad CPI reading, Bitcoin at this stage of the market where everybody's expecting interest rate cuts, I think Bitcoin would fall below and potentially want to go ahead and create that double bottom structure before we go out and break the upper resistance. That could be a scenario, but in the macro, you can also argue that Bitcoin already has that double bottom created on the daily time frame, and we just want to go to the neckline at $69,000-$70,000. So if you want to short Bitcoin, I personally wouldn't be looking into that direction. Of course, it's your trading. You can do whatever you want, but shorting Bitcoin today may be a little bit risky. Whenever we have economic data, I don't like to trade the day before, and the day after. I will sit on the sidelines. I'm full spot positions. My positions are full spot into Bitcoin and Ethereum. I will only consider opening a long if Bitcoin is able to surpass 64K. At that point, I will probably enter a long position and keep it until $95,000. So that's what I'll do with my trading. But for now, I want to see the CPI data and I want to see how Bitcoin reacts to these moving averages. But if you want to really go all in into Bitcoin, not for a short-term profit, but for a long-term perspective, then I would definitely recommend to watch the video I filmed with Carl yesterday, because we talk about when we believe is the right time to buy Bitcoin and why we think that it's still super, super early. And when I was just checking the ETF news, and we saw that Morgan Stanley is going to start offering Bitcoin ETFs to their clients, and Goldman Sachs is like $400 million already allocated into the ETFs. It's just the start. Like, things are just getting started. BlackRock is going to soon launch their own blockchain. They already use, I mean, Jamie Dimon's, JP Morgan, they already use blockchain technology to process repos and reverse repos. Those are basically financial instruments where you can borrow money in exchange for short-term custody of financial assets. We don't need to get into too much detail with that, but these big institutions are using blockchain technology. We have a pro-crypto president, pro-crypto administration, hopefully going to take charge in November. Although Kamala Harris could be winning, things are getting very, very shifted from a political tone. But yeah, I think overall Bitcoin looks perfect. We don't need the politicians. Bitcoin is a self-fulfilling prophecy that will eventually have to be, people will eventually have to hold Bitcoin. That's it. That's the bottom line. It won't be an option. People will have to save in Bitcoin. People will have to use Bitcoin at some point in time. That could be in 10 years, 20 years, 30 years, but that time will come. And I think buying Bitcoin at 60K is super cheap for that, but I don't want to spoil much. If you're interested in more of a fundamental take on Bitcoin, then watch the video I filmed with Carl. But of course, thanks to the bullish producer prices index, we got a 2.2%. People were expecting 2.6, 2.3%. We got 2.2% yesterday. The S&P has pumped pretty drastically on the 4-hourly, or in fact the daily time frame. We can see that the S&P closed the gap which we had in place at 5,432. And if we get a good inflation reading, then this V-shaped recovery can continue pushing further towards the upside. But if we get a bad reading, that's when we need to be a little bit more careful. Anything below 3% should be good. Anything above 3% would be bad for the S&P and therefore bad for Bitcoin at the same time. Currently, the correlation is very much there. Bitcoin is following the S&P perfectly. Just remember that eventually when the Fed does cut the rates, we can see from history that during a Fed pivot, we get a huge crash on the stock market. I don't know if the same thing is going to happen this time around. It did every single time the Fed cut interest rates from a long stance of high interest rates, the market crashed a lot. So I don't know if the same thing is going to happen this time around. I can't give you a full definitive answer, but what I do know is when I look back at history, it happened, right? We got a significant crash. It could go around this time. How would that affect Bitcoin? Most likely in a negative way, but it may not be the case for this time around. I don't know. If you are more experienced in traditional finance and if you've been around for more years than I have, let me know in the comment section if you believe the S&P will crash once the Fed cuts interest rates. But that's pretty much it. Just expect a very volatile day. The CPI data will come out very soon, and depending on the data, Bitcoin will move. I don't like to trade today's volatility. Usually, Bitcoin tends to go up 6 hours after the CPI data release. So the probability from a statistical perspective is that Bitcoin will go up, but all scenarios could be in play. Just look out for these moving averages. And at $64,000, I'm planning to long Bitcoin. Guys and girls, I hope you enjoyed that short video. Have a great day, everyone, and I'll see you all on the next video very soon. Take care, guys, and bye-bye.